Oh, it's time for the show. Whoa. Is that better? Is that a little blurry? Better? Cool. All right. Hello, everyone. Episode 45, Smells Like Wrasslin podcast here on YouTube. I'm your host, Eric. Again, this week, another episode of Dynamite in the books. Trying to think of anything worthwhile happened in wrestling. I can't think of anything. Trying to think if there was other news aside from the Dynamite show that we had tonight. I think maybe the only thing that I heard rumbling was Roman might be main eventing both nights of Mania, which I don't mind at all. He's really like the only like main draw that they have. He's having a match against him and Sammy versus Kevin Owens and John Cena on the December 30th episode of SmackDown. So I guess that should be interesting. I mean, this is eventually leading towards KO fighting Owens for KO fighting Roman for the belt. I don't know how that's going to end up because I still think, it's pretty clear it's going to end up like Owens is going to lose, but this has got to be the first domino falling in the Sammy and Bloodline storyline. You know, like they've peaked now. He's in. But like, so now once you're in, it's just only a matter of time. It's the beginning of the end. So I'm very curious as to how they're going to start this whole process going towards, from what I think is going to be Roman fighting The Rock and fighting Cody at both nights of Mania. So we'll see how that goes. And Bronson Reed is back in the WWE. I really didn't care much for him when he was in NXT, and I cared even less about him when he was in New Japan. So him coming back to WWE to be in a storyline with The Miz isn't what I would say like getting me hyped, but he's back, and so we'll see what Triple H does with him moving forward. Talk of Sasha Banks at the Tokyo Dome. Apparently it's possible that they could sign her to a match deal after the 1st of January. And since Wrestle Kingdom isn't until the 7th, and I guess they have to keep all this legality and whatnot, if they're going to do something wrestling related with her, they really can't say anything until January 1st. So I'm very curious how Wrestle Kingdom is going to play out. It's also one of the first pay-per-views that we have had that is going to showcase guys from WWE, guys from AEW, guys from New Japan, guys from, I think Ring of Honor, or guys you've seen on Ring of Honor television, but this will be one of the first pay-per-views that we actually got to see a WWE guy in the mix with the guys that, you know, if you're watching wrestling outside of WWE, it's very interesting to see this collaboration of talent that's going to be on this card. Omega's fighting Ospreay, so you got a guy from AEW there. Carl Anderson is defending the Never Open Weight title against I forgot who. So he's going to be on the show, and he's a WWE guy, and the rest of the guys are New Japan. And I guess an argument could be made if any of those New Japan guys have been on Ring of Honor, which is pretty much everybody on that card. It's a pretty interesting combo, and I'm excited about it. And I think, in my opinion, that all promotions should put their differences aside and every 4 years have like one big show. Maybe a show that maybe it even lasts a couple of nights. Maybe you do like a 2, 3, 4 night thing, right? Every fan of every wrestling promotion would be there. Every promotion stands to make a lot of money. You have WWE there. You have AEW there. You have Ring of Honor there. You have New Japan there. Bring the guys from freaking GCW. Bring the guys from AAA. You know, and just have a massive show in like New York at like MetLife Stadium. I could guarantee you're gonna sell out like 80,000. And everybody puts their best foot forward. Actually, not even that. Do that in fucking Cowboy Stadium, where you could put over 100,000 people in there. Because I guarantee you, you put on a super show like that, once every 4 years, and like you slowly build like little stories that could build up all the way up until this point. And as long as everyone could agree on what's fair with the booking, I think it would be an awesome show to get all of wrestlingdom, all of wrestling fandom together. And no one could complain about it. I honestly think, no, like, well, obviously people could find a way to complain about it, but I mean, like, that would be the place where we would see all the dream matches. All the dream matches. I mean, you could even input angles from other, like, from other promotions involved. I don't care. But this is where you can see fucking dream matches. This is where I could see, like, Kenny Omega versus Roman Reigns or something like that. This is where I could see fucking Daniel Bryan versus Chad Gable. You know, like, I want to see this shit. You know? I want to see it. I want to see it. I mean, they'll never do it because it puts the spot, because first off, you'll never get WWE to agree to it. I think AEW could be amendable to it, as well as all the other promotions, because all they can do is stand to profit from this. The only promotion that could stand to lose from this, technically, is WWE, because that event will showcase their talent, which would bring their fans, and it will show them other guys that, let's be real, the WWE does not want them to see. They do not want eyeballs going off of their channel, their programming. They've already lost millions upon millions of viewers within the last 10 years. And to be quite honest, they can't afford to lose anymore before they start getting to AEW territory, where now it just hovers at under 1 million instead of over 1 million. So, like, that's not where WWE wants to be. So, to be quite honest, there isn't a lot of wrestling fandom out there in terms of viewership. So, they do not want someone just to be like, maybe I won't watch Raw this week. Maybe I'll just watch AEW. You know, we're like, Raw's 3 hours, but AEW's only 2. You know, like, you don't want that. Or you don't want, like, people who are watching AEW on Wednesdays to fucking tune into, like, NXT on Tuesdays or SmackDown on Fridays. So, I don't know. It's just, you know, it's just a pipe dream. It's a dream that I think should happen, that I would like to happen, that I would pay money to see happen, but I don't think the wrestling promotions would get together and do anything like that. I mean, the promotions so many eyes would be on it. I mean, it would be a once in a lifetime thing. Like, they've never done anything like that. But do it, that's what I'm saying, like, do it every 4 years so that it's like a World Cup atmosphere, and do it for like a couple of days. Do like 4 days of supercard shows. You know what I mean? All the women's divisions could showcase their shit. All trios, like divisions, tag teams, singles matches, all kinds of wrestling types, lucha, strong style, you know, British strong style, all that shit. You know, I think it would be kind of cool. Will it happen? No, probably not. But a boy could dream. So let's go on with tonight's episode of Dynamite. It was a solid episode of Dynamite. I thought it wasn't anything to write home about. The night started off with Ricky Starks coming to the ring, following his loss to MJF last week for the AEW title, with that low blow towards the end of the match. So that was pretty much the end of that. And Ricky Starks is moving on. And he says that he will fight MJF again. He doesn't care if he has to work his way up the ladder. He said he kept his dignity intact while, you know, MJF, basically he didn't have the balls to beat Ricky up front. And, so he was going on this rant. And in the middle of the rant, Chris Jericho comes out. Chris Jericho comes out flanked by Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia. Jericho says he's been watching Starks for a while, calls him $1 million talent, saying he'll be a world champion someday, just not yet. Jericho invites him to join the JAS. He says that, so he basically puts out an invitation for Starks to join his faction. Starks said he respects Jericho, from going to the ring, from looking like an air fryer to being lean, mean, and dressed like a single father on his 5th divorce. Referencing that when Jericho started in AEW, he was not in the greatest of shape. He was definitely overweight. And in the last year or so, he's dropped a lot of weight dramatically and gotten himself into pretty good shape and has been wrestling pretty amazing fucking matches. Like, he's been wrestling like wrestling dream matches. He's been fighting guys from Ring of Honor. He's been fighting guys from New Japan. He's been having banger matches with some of the best in the world. Chris Jericho is the greatest of all time. Okay? Chris Jericho, let me say this again. Chris Jericho is the greatest wrestler of all time. All right? He has constantly reinvented himself over the decades. He is a phenomenal wrestler in any era. He's a phenomenal talker in any era. And he's a phenomenal character in any era. He is the man. He is the GOAT. Chris Jericho is the best of all time. Period. He mentions Jericho's loss last week to Action Andretti, which I thought was an awesome moment. He says the J in JAS stands for jobbers. Called Garcia and Sammy Guevara jassholes, which I thought was kind of clever, and challenges Jericho to a match on January 4th. Jake Hager shows up behind Starks, lays him out. The rest of the JAS beat the shit out of him. And then Action Andretti comes out, runs wild, clears the entire ring. He lays out Jericho with a split-legged moonsault. He throws out Hager, Jericho, and Guevara. And Andretti and Starks stand tall to end it. So I can only imagine that there's going to be some sort of tag match between Action Andretti and Starks versus the JAS in some way, shape, or form in the days leading up to Starks versus Jericho. So we'll see where that goes. But I like that Starks was featured tonight. It's important that he is made to be a big deal and that his run with MJF isn't some sort of one-off. That's how you have to develop stars, and Ricky Starks is one. So I think him fighting Jericho is a good idea because he's Chris Jericho. He's the greatest of all time. If you're getting camera time with Jericho and feuds with Jericho, that's a good thing. That's like top of the card kind of shit. So I'm excited for Action Andretti. I'm excited for Ricky Starks, and the more Chris Jericho we get, the better. So I can't complain about that. Next match was another installment in the Best of 7 series between the Elite, comprised of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, accompanied to the ring by Don Callis, Brandon Cutler, and Michael Nakazawa, because they have to come with a whole fuck ton of people. They defeated the current AEW Trios champions, Death Triangle, which is Pac, and the Lucha Brothers, which is Penta El Cero Miedo and Rey Fenix, along with Alex Abrahantes. They beat them in a no disqualification trios match to win the best of 5 series. That now makes the series 3 games to 2 or 3 matches to 2. They beat the shit out of each other. They used all the weapons in the book. They used a fucking Christmas tree. I fucking hate holiday themed weapons. Like, I don't care if it's Christmas or not. I just think it's tacky to have the Christmas tree around. But whatever. But that all ended. They used the hammer on Omega. Omega kicks out of the hammer shot. They busted everybody open. Both the Young Bucks were busted open, which, to be quite honest, you don't really see them busted open too often. And neither you see Omega busted open too often either. So I thought it was cool that that they all showed color. They got jumped at the end of the match. Obviously, this isn't over. I forgot what the next match is. Oh, the next match is a no false count anywhere match. So that's going to be crazy because that's going to go all throughout the arena. I expect that to either open the show or close the show because I guarantee you they're going to be all over the fucking place. And then the final match is going to be a ladder match at the Forum in Los Angeles. Which, I mean, they're priming this to have, by all means, a legendary Game 7. But an amazing match with Omega and the Bucks winning. They're doing a trios battle royale. I guess I could only assume the only reason that they're really doing it is because they now need to continue to build up this trios division. Because after Omega and the Bucks win this thing, which we all assume that they will, they have to have opponents to fight. So they got to start building up trios teams. So they already have the House of Black being built up. They're going to probably start building up Best Friends again. They're going to start building up Dark Order again. So they're going to have to build up these teams. You need to start feeding to the Elite, and you need to and also eventually the Elite are going to drop those trios belts, which means you're going to also need to have someone in mind to supplant them when they eventually drop the belts. So it's not enough just to book the Elite winning the belts. You need to book them winning the belts, and then you need to book their reign already. Like, their reign should already be predetermined right now, even while they don't even have the belts yet. That's called smart long-term booking. You don't book everything short-term like that. So I'm assuming they already have all of these things lined up for the trios division for the next 16 months, I would assume. Because otherwise, that's not smart. That's a bad idea. It's going to make those belts useless because the title reigns are going to be useless because there's no worthwhile contenders. I say this every week. Every week. Strong champions are made by strong contenders, and that's how strong title reigns are made, and that's why titles become important, because they're attached to greatness, you know? That's what it is. So I hope they figure it out. I hope they get this trios division up and running. I think that now that we're going to start to see less of Ring of Honor television on AEW programming, it's going to allow things to be a little bit more streamlined in terms of all these different divisions they have. They have 2 women's belts. They have a trios belt, a tag belt. They have the TNT title, and they have the AEW title. So that's a lot of belts to be building up for these pay-per-views over the course of several weeks. And it's really not enough time to be having matches that don't really continuate all of these title reigns. I mean, AEW only has 3 hours of television. It pretty much means that all of their divisions need to be showcased, and these need to be people that are, and the people who you are showcasing in these divisions should be future champions. Period. Like, otherwise, everyone else should be on Dark and Elevation. I like the fact that Dark is going back to Universal Studios. I think they should start filming, like, multiple episodes there. And honestly, I think that they should have another booking team booking storylines in Dark and Elevation. Because right now, Dark and Elevation is just random fucking matches, like, strung together sometimes by people challenging for matches for the following week. But otherwise, there aren't really any coherent storylines. So I want Dark and Elevation to be a little bit like what NXT was, where there was a place where young talent could cut their teeth, but also they should be learning how to hone their craft in terms of promotions, and they should be working out potential storylines that they feel might work or not work in that kind of minute setting. That should be the petri dish. That's what they should be doing. But they don't have enough bookers in AEW to have the mind space to do something like that. That's my problem with AEW. They need more bookers. It can't just be Tony. There needs to be other bookers. And I guarantee you, if you had other competent bookers that, hey, listen, if Tony wants them to share the same vision, then I don't mind Tony having 4 other brains working simultaneously on different storylines. That just means that one man could do multiple things. That's why I want him to have a writer's room. But there hasn't been any rumor of that. The wrestling media doesn't press him on that. I think he should be pressed on it in every single post-media scrum. When are you getting other bookers? When are you getting other Why? Because you want to know why I say that? Because there are matches and storylines and a lot of dead air that happens on AEW, and I feel like they don't have enough screen time to afford dead air. So things need to be, like, done. You know what I mean? More needs to be done to develop this company so that they could be solvent for years to come. Because what's the point of getting their television deal renewed if they have no longevity? They need to start working on their longevity. And I think you're seeing that right now with a lot of the, with MJF being the world the world champion. With guys like Ricky Starks challenging for it. Guys like Wardlow holding on to belts. You know what I'm talking about? Like them giving wins to guys like Action Andretti. Like they are taking steps. All I'm saying is that more needs to be done. And I think and I'm only saying more needs to be done in the context that more needs to be done in order for them to reach the heights that they need to reach to be a strong, solvent, long-lasting company. So what I'm saying is that if you want AEW to continue as a viable wrestling alternative moving forward, they need to do more. They could continue to do what they're doing and they'll either stay stagnant or continue to lose viewers like they have. Because let's be honest, they haven't been really steady hitting 1 million lately. They haven't been doing that since CM Punk. And I'm not going to lie, I really think the CM Punk situation really was a detriment to AEW. It really was an actual blow that is visible and that is going to be going to take some time to recover from. Because that was a bad look for the company. A bad look. And a lot of storylines and a lot of things had to be put on hold and had to be rearranged and move around or rewritten entirely. And AEW works best when their long-term planning goes according to plan. And what they've dealt with in 2022 is a lot of curveballs between injuries, between suspensions, between arrests, between people leaving, between people getting suspended, between people getting fired. It's been a very tumultuous year, and I think under the circumstances, being that they maybe lost 200,000 viewers, it could have been worse. It honestly could have been worse, and I guess if you want to put a positive spin on it, you could attribute this to Tony Khan and the people that he surrounded himself with. You could then argument can be made that the only reason that they're in this predicament to begin with is because of those same people. I do think an argument could be made either way, but the fact of the matter is that AEW is still around, and they're the top 10 in cable for the week, almost every week, which is good business for any network. And unless the networks are going to drastically change how they wanted to present their program lineup, AEW is going to be fine. I am very curious to see as to what their TV deal is going to look like because I think they're up for renewal sometime next year. So we will see. We will see. We see footage from last week, MJF running away from Bryan Danielson. MJF calls him a gutless prick who robbed MJF of his moment. MJF says everyone wants to eat off of his plate. So when it comes to his reign of terror, Bryan Danielson will eat less than he desires and more than he deserves. So this is obviously going to be the next big test for MJF. He will fight Bryan Danielson. Tony Schiavone he interviews Action Andretti backstage. Excuse me. Pardon me. Tony Schiavone interviews Action Andretti backstage. He basically says his life has totally changed after beating Jericho. It was the biggest upset in a long fucking time, to be honest. Andretti says that he has Ricky Starks back out there. And pretty much Angelo Parker and Matt Menard interrupt. They say that Action Andretti is on fire. And then he turns around and a gigantic fireball hits him in the face, courtesy of the return of the wizard, Chris Jericho, burning Action Andretti's face off. So, I guess it's not over between Action Andretti and Chris Jericho. So we'll see what happens going forward. We had Renee Paquette in the ring interviewing Bryan Danielson. They're still trying to justify how Regal left, how he betrayed Mox, and then MJF takes him out, and now we're basically not going to see Regal again because he's working with WWE. but in storyline in AEW, he's just gone. And he wanted to teach them a lesson to always keep eyes in the back of your head, which is stupid because Regal got blasted exactly because he didn't have eyes in the back of his head. So I have really no earthly idea why. They're trying to justify it, and they're doing a really shitty job at it. So Danielson says he doesn't expect the Blackpool Combat Club to understand. Danielson said he was trained by Rudy Boy Gonzalez and Shawn Michaels, but the trainer who made him who he is today and the wrestler who he is today, it was William Regal. He said that he made his career for the better, and he said that when Regal was in the hospital, Bryan Danielson cried. So basically, what Danielson's saying is that the other guys of the Blackpool Combat Club could have problems with what Regal did, but he doesn't have any problems based on the very unique relationship that he has. So I guess Danielson, no matter what Regal does, he still loves him. Even though he's a bastard, he loves him because he's a bastard. And that's pretty much it. That's how they're explaining Danielson. Now, Mox did a horrible job. He basically just was like, fuck it, I don't care, and wrote off Regal. So there you go. I hope they don't bring this up again, because I feel like the more they bring it up, the deeper into, I don't know, like the deeper hole they dig for themselves in this storyline, which, couldn't be helped because they let Regal go. He has to go, and they let him go. No matter where it was in the storyline, they let him go. I don't know why they couldn't just, be like, listen, Regal, I know you want to work with Hunter. Let's just finish out these storylines and do it in a way that makes sense, and then you could go. Now, granted, they've been talking about this for a while, so I shudder to think that this is the best they could think of if they knew about this for some time. Whatever. Ethan Page and Stokely Hathaway come to the ring. Ethan Page was getting nuclear heat. This crowd was booing. This crowd was like MJF booing Ethan Page. And to be honest, if I was Ethan Page, I'd be really fucking excited about that. Because that's a fucking reaction. They hate this guy. And you know what? He's a fucking shit heel. And he is an excellent talker on the mic. And he's a real big douchebag. And he's good in the ring. So all good for him. Yeah. We need more major villains in AEW. And Ethan Page fits the bill. And Stokely Hathaway is awesome. Him calling Danielson a raggedy bitch was the greatest thing in the world. Danielson, they basically called Danielson a vegetable man because of, he's a vegan and all that shit. They told him, to go back and, be a family man and stop wrestling and don't think that you could jump ahead in line. That this is Ethan Page's time. He went far in the Battle Royal. He went far in the Eliminator Tournament. He should be one of the next guys to get a shot at MJF. So, basically said that he was going to turn Danielson into a vegetable if he got in his way. So, it looks like it's going to be Danielson versus Page next week in Denver. MJF was shown watching all of this backstage. A graphic is shown for the Three Kings Christmas Casino Trios Royale, Jesus Christ, where the winning team gets $300,000 on Rampage. Moxley is going to be in it with Cesaro, Claudio, and Wheeler, who both won their belts back at a final battle. So that's going to be a trio. He calls out Hangman Page because they're still going at it. They went at it on fucking Rampage. So this is definitely going to be a match that I feel is going to pop off at, I'm assuming, Revolution, but we'll see. So, I liked how Mox basically said, listen, like, what do you think I was trying to do to him with that clothesline? Comb his hair? I was trying to knock him out. I meant to do it. We were in a match. I'm trying to win. I'm not going to feel sorry for Hangman having a glass jaw. So I kind of like the explanation Mox had, because Mox is not a villain here. He fought the match Mox's way, and Hangman knew exactly what he was getting himself into, and Hangman got knocked out. So Hangman wants a receipt. That's what he wants. He wants some comeuppance. A guy knocked him out. That's a career threatening. Doesn't seem apologetic about it. So yeah, Hangman wants a piece. This makes sense to me. This is awesome. I hope they have a great match, and I hope it's not on fucking television. I hope it's on pay-per-view. We got a video shown of the current TNT and Ring of Honor television champion and the self-proclaimed king of television, Samoa Joe, wishes everyone a happy holidays, except for Wardlow, who won't be having a happy new year. And on December 28th, it's going to be Samoa Joe versus Wardlow for the TNT title. So we'll see how that goes. FTW champion Hook, now on being showcased a little bit more regularly on Dynamite, fighting Exodus Prime, some, I guess, random dude. Hook wins. At the end of that match, backstage, Stokely Hathaway was with Big Bill and Lee Moriarty, beating the ever-loving shit out of Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Bill chokeslams Perry into a dumpster. Hook power walks to the back. He really didn't put any pep in his step for a guy who he was trying to have his back, but whatever. And basically, Jon Moxley's music hits as Hook is going up the ramp. Excuse me. Moxley was in a match tonight against Darius Martin, one half of Top Flight. Moxley gave Darius a lot in this match, and I thought it was important to do so because you really kind of want to rehabilitate this guy in the eyes of the crowd because he's been gone for a while. He's gone through a lot of injuries. He had that car accident, so a lot of things were going on with Darius Martin. So I'm glad that he's back in action. And he's fighting a high level guy, Moxley. Moxley got a little bit of color. It looks like he got dinged in the nose. So there we go. So Mox bleeding again. Moxley, they had him control the pace early. They gave Darius a good deal of offense, but in the end, it was Moxley who was victorious. They showed the next chapter in the book of Hobbs. Hobbs said when he was 3 years old, he saw his uncle overdose on the floor. He said as a child, he was beaten, robbed, stabbed, shot. He smelt his own burning flesh. He said only monsters would do that, and in return, they created a monster themselves. So a little bit of V for Vendetta he's quoting there. But, Jesus Christ. I hope all that isn't true. I mean, oh my God. But, Jesus. Anywho, so they're going to start building Hobbs. Building Hobbs towards what? I'm not quite sure. But these video packages could only mean that they're going to start giving this guy a push, and it's well-deserved. Powerhouse Hobbs is awesome. He's perfected his craft. He's gotten awesome in the ring. His character work is great. His facials are awesome. The mean mug that he gives everybody is fucking phenomenal. And his work on the mic is fucking great. I love Powerhouse Hobbs. The more Powerhouse Hobbs I see, the fucking better. Vintora's asked in the chat, did Vince Russo get the green light on that name? On what name, actually? With Vince, I'm curious. Tag match. Gun Club defeats the current IWGP and AAA Tag Team Champions, FTR. Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler. They mentioned that FTR is banged up after that double dog collar match that they had at Final Battle. It was a fucking brutal match, but it was probably one of the better matches I saw this year. Oh yeah, that Battle Royal name is a fucking mouthful, man. I guess it must be some promotion for some whatever, but Jesus fucking Christ. They had the Guns get a good amount of offense on FTR, which is good. You want to start building up tag teams, and Gun Club is a young tag team in AEW. You have to build them up sometime, and they're not bad in the ring. They just need, obviously, I think they just need to build up, I guess, for lack of a better term, a legacy for themselves. They need to build up a catalog of their in-ring work in front of the AEW fans. Because let's be honest, like a lot of AEW fans haven't really seen much of the Gun Club until they showed up on AEW. And even then, they were kind of showcased as jobbers, always losing. So now they're starting to be built up as some sort of potential threat in the tag team division. So I'm glad that they're fighting guys, left and right and getting television time, because when else are you going to do this? And like I said, they are good on the mic and they're good in the ring, which means they should get the television time. Guns controlled action during the commercial break. Eventually, FTR made the comeback, and they ended up, actually, right when you thought that they were about to win, Austin rolled through. By Austin, I mean Austin Gunn. Gets Dax in a roll-up, holds his brother's hand, who was outside the ring. 1, 2, 3, and the Gun Club gets the win. They beat FTR. This is FTR's third major loss in a row. They lost to the Briscoes and lost the ROH titles. They lost to the Gun Club. And what the fuck else match did they lose, actually? And they lost that match to the Acclaimed. So they lost the AEW title match, they lost the Ring of Honor title match, and they lost to the Gun Club. So very interesting stories being played out with FTR and a little bit of a skid. They are still the AAA and the IWGP Tag Team Champions, which I could only assume that this slid of losses with FTR is going to lead to them losing the belts at Wrestle Kingdom, because they are in a tag match defending the belts at Wrestle Kingdom. So I'm assuming they're going to drop the belts there, and then eventually drop the AAA belts, and then I guess go heel, or they're going to take some time off and you're not going to see them on television for a while. But I mean, God bless them. They went on a hell of a run, a Hall of Fame run, and if they want to take time off for themselves, fine. If they feel like they got gas in the tank and they could do more shit outside of having all the title belts, then let's do it. The more FTR, the better. We get a music video with Sanjay Dutt rapping about the Acclaimed. It looks like it's going to be Lethal and Jarrett versus Anthony Bowens and Daddy Ass on Rampage. I guess this is eventually leading up to Jarrett and Lethal against the Acclaimed for the tag belts, which should end up being a good match. I mean, I feel like they could be doing more with Jay Lethal, but I mean, Jeff Jarrett, I don't know. I didn't really want or need Jeff Jarrett around either. I mean, he's okay on the mic and he's good in the ring and he's got legacy behind him and he could still go. But, I mean, hey, listen, like, if they want to give the Acclaim a long run until they eventually maybe even drop the belts to FTR, who knows? I don't know. But, something's going on with FTR and I guess they're going to continue on with this title run for the Acclaimed. This next segment was the face-off between Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee, featuring Rick Ross. I thought this segment sucked. Rick Ross managed to drop motherfucker on live television, which I thought was hysterical. I don't even know how to explain this. Like, I don't know, Rick Ross kept interrupting, and I couldn't make out what Swerve was saying, and basically Swerve was telling Keith Lee to he better keep eyes in the back of his head. He gets attacked by Parker Boudreaux, which no one gave a shit about. Then he got attacked by some other dude, this massive guy who had tattoos all over his face. I don't know what the fuck was going on, but the coolest part of this segment was the Swerve stomp onto Keith Lee onto the stairs with a goddamn cinder block on his chest, and the cinder block just shatters all over the place. So I thought that was pretty cool. The rest of the segment sucked. I guess this is going to keep Keith Lee off of television. Swerve will be in some singles matches. He could brag about how he put Keith Lee on the shelf. Keith Lee comes back. Maybe they have a blow-off match either on Dynamite or at Revolution. I guess now Swerve is going to start his own faction called Mogul Affiliates. All these guys had the shirt, and they kept on making mention, mogul affiliates, mogul affiliates, mogul affiliates. So there you go. I guess Swerve is now going to have his own faction. Trying to think, what am I missing here? The main event, Jamie Hayter defeats Hikaru Shida to retain the AW title. I did not know how I was going to feel about this match, but this match was fucking awesome. And the crowd was on fire throughout this match. Shida was taking hit after hit from Hayter. Hayter was laying in those lariats like nobody's business. I wasn't sure how to feel about the match towards the beginning, but as it ramped up towards the end, I was totally invested in it, and so was the crowd. So awesome match between Hikaru Shida and Jamie Hayter. At the end of the match, Shida gets jumped by Britt Baker and Rebel. That leads to Toni Storm coming out. To which Toni Storm gets laid out with a belt shot by Jamie Hayter, which leads to Saraya coming out and her doing a thrust kick and clearing the ring out. So I could only assume there's going to be an eventual trios match between Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker, and Rebel versus Saraya, Toni Storm, and Hikaru Shida. So I guess that's where that storyline is going in the women's division. So that's pretty much the end of that, people. I mean, there hasn't been a lot in the realm of wrestling news this past week. So there really isn't much to talk about outside of this episode of Dynamite. But as we start getting closer to Wrestle Kingdom, we're going to start talking a little bit more New Japan, talk about the storylines leading up to Wrestle Kingdom, and seeing how that's going to go going forward. And then everything else is our road to Revolution in, I think, February or March. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Thanks for Josh in the chat for interacting. Appreciate it. And I will see you guys next week for another Dynamite review. Take care.